Welcome, our fellow lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on yet another excursion through the stream of consciousness, down the river of tranquility, to fill the lake of life with love.
And good evening, our fellow lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on this late night edition of Late Night Love. And was probably going to have a couple weeks in a row of late editions of Late Night Love. So we've got 2 more weeks of the state fair we're dealing with. I'm doing some political things at the state fair. We've got ourselves engaging at the state fair, and we actually had I wouldn't call it an incident. That is, well, anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. But in this episode of Late Night Love, we dive into the complexities of relationship parenting and the work-life balance, as usual. We say that like every week, don't we? Mm-hmm. Okay, from navigating the emotional turmoil of turmoil. Oh my Lord. Okay, slow down and breathe. It's been a long, stimulating day, and so I'm just going fast, and I need to slow down. From navigating emotional turmoil of a spouse returning after a separation to dealing with a partner's unconventional requests, we offer advice and support for those in need. We also tackle parenting dilemmas. Oh, and now, hi, welcome to Late Night Love. Now that you can hear us, it's a late edition of Late Night Love. I'm gonna have to go back and edit this thing. That's interesting. So anyway, now I'm going to have to go and double check and make sure my settings are all checked. Anyway, we are a late edition of Late Night Love. And yeah. And you're likely going to be late for a couple more weeks in a row because I'm doing some work at the state fair and some political work, which came with some interesting interaction today. Well, one in particular, and we'll talk about that without diving into the politics of it here shortly. But in this episode of Late Night Love, we're diving into the complexities of relationships, parenting, and the work-life balance, as usual. From navigating the emotional turmoil of a spouse returning after a separation to dealing with a partner's unconventional requests, we offer advice and support to those in need. We also tackle parental dilemmas, such as handling car obsessed children, and deciding on daycare options. And lastly, we address some workplace challenges, including the challenges of high expectations, difficult coworkers, and uncovering nerves after a promotion mishap. Join us and after that, if you're still around, we deal with our intimate issues, then you can join us for heartfelt discussions and practical solutions to life's toughest questions. And we'll see if I can manage to maintain a show tonight. Good Lord, I'm all over the place today. Anyway, it's been a strange day. I don't know if you heard this, but Donald Trump was attempted assassination today. Had him in the ear at an event in a rally, and which is disturbing enough.
I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but I don't believe. No, that's not okay.
Yeah, you don't have.
You don't know. We don't shoot people.
No, you don't solve political problems with bullets. That's how lots of people get hurt.
Yeah.
But what I found disturbing was there was this, what on all appearances would have been a sweet little old lady, comes up and mentions to a complete stranger, and I am not a member of either political party booths, right? We do have a political booth, but we're not the 2 major political parties. So we're in situations like this, we are, interested observers type of thing, right? And she came up to me and said that she was sorry they missed.
Oh dear.
Little old grandma. How far our country has fallen when we have little old grandmas sitting wishing political violence on people. It's a disturbing trend that people were willing to come up and express that. Now, I heard some people asking, should we ask them what they think about the event? They didn't come up and ask. I would have been perfectly happy answering, hey, what do you guys think about it? It's a, reasonable question, even though it's not what I would have personally asked. And I didn't have a chance. Tomorrow I'll have to walk over to the Trump supporters booths. And just, give them a little bit of support is the wrong word, but give them a bit of humanity.
Yeah.
A bit of humanity.
A little bit of humanity. There we go.
So anyway, it was just of all I've done this a number of times. I spent a lot of hours in political booths talking to political people, and this was one of the most disturbing things I've ever experienced. It's right up there. It's just really is. It's like expecting some type of sympathy or camaraderie, like flipping crazy. What is this? The violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. If you can't deal with someone like Donald Trump politically, then you have no business being in the political field. Get out. Right? If you are wishing for people to be hurt, you are no better than them. No worse, no better than them. You have become what you claim to hate. And so we're going to leave it there. All right. So like I said, it was a disturbing thing. And, you would not have expected it. Sweet little old grandma looking person sitting here wishing harm upon others.
Oh, dear.
And when I told her that, one person at the thing had died, a spectator had died, I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry the spectator was. And it didn't seem all that believable to me. So I just say, if you in the heat of the political season, I can understand the initial reaction. I can. We've got everybody so fearful that you have inhumane reactions to things. But that reaction should go away damn quickly. Your humanity should return within minutes. Right?
Yes.
I don't blame people for an initial reaction, right? There's so much wrapped up in how those initial reactions happen. But I will hold you responsible for how you react to that. Right? You can have whatever initial reaction you want. It's a human being. You can't always control that, but you can control what you do with it. And so, yeah, be better. Okay, we're going to go into work questions first this week so we can kind of get off of that and onto something else. Okay, so on to work. What do we got this week?
Okay, this individual feels his expectations are too high at work and he doesn't know what to do.
Well, unfortunately, we need some perspectives on this, because one person's expectations too high is another person's. That's the bare minimum bar. What are you talking about? Now, some people, you might not just be meant for that job, right? There's like in a warehouse job, it's awfully often quick. And if you are not of the physical and mental framework to be able to handle that type of pace and that type of environment, you need to go find something else to do. It's not the responsibility of the job to change. It's the responsibility of you to find a job that you're suited for. Because, now there are times when expectations are too high for, your compensation, your time, whatever it is. And so I'm not going to dismiss that expectations may very well be too high. But without some context, that's the word I was looking for.
Right.
Without some context, there's no way for me to know. Now, maybe you're just in over your head at the moment. You're trying to drink from a fire hose. You're getting so much thrown at you, and it feels like you're drowning. Because you in a sense, you are. But you'll get through it. You'll be all right. Or you won't. It's not the end of the world. Not everybody's meant for everything. I've done plenty of jobs that I wasn't meant for. I left them and went and did something else. I was a terrible, what's the name? Purchasing manager. I was terrible at it. Did it for about 4 or 5 months. It was awful. I couldn't stand it. So I left. I didn't blame the job. It was me. That was the problem, not the job. We didn't suit each other at that time. It had nothing to do with the company, had nothing to do with the people I worked for. I wasn't suited for that particular type of job at that particular time in my life. So it may very well be that. But Or maybe you're in a place that just has really high expectations, and that's what they do. So it's hard to know if they're being unreasonable, or if you're just not cut out for that particular environment. And there's nothing wrong with it, of not being cut out for that particular environment, right? Not everybody works.
Well, no.
Not everything works for everybody. That's why we have different jobs. Go work for something down the street. Go find something down the street. Okay, what's next?
Okay. How do I interact with a coworker who tried to get me fired?
You be professional. You simply do your job. Right? You don't have to do anything other than your job. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Civility is civility. Professionalism is professionalism. And you maintaining yours is all that's required. You don't have to like it. You don't have to, what is it? And this is one of those things you learn in sports. You can hate the person who you're right next to, like in football, but you're counting on them. You can't be successful without them. So when you're on the field, when you're doing your thing, it's professionalism. You both do your jobs. You don't hang out. You don't talk to each other on break. You don't do none of that, but you do your job. That's all it is. Now, there's some theories where you kill them with kindness. That would be, my grandma's theory. Kill them with kindness.
My sister's like that. She's like, oh, God, I got to make them like me.
Oh, I wouldn't do it to make them like me. No. No. That's not the plan. The plan is to have them irritated every day because they couldn't get under my skin. Right? The whole point of people who are like bullying you and trying to get you fired is to make your life miserable. And if you are killing them with kindness, your life isn't miserable. Your life is better than theirs, and you're rubbing their nose in it every day with a smile. Has nothing to do with getting them to like you. Don't care if they like me or not. That's called revenge, baby. All right, what's next?
I am so bored at work.
Are you getting paid? Yeah, what's the job? Is there any more details of that?
No.
Then you're bored at work. Either it's just like being bored in school, right? You either have, your job is below your capacity, and so you were bored. Or maybe you're a security guard, a night security guard working in some office building, and you're literally just trying to keep yourself awake at night because there's nothing to do, right? When a bird hits the window on accident, you got something to do. It's the bright side of your day. The janitor has a question. Hey, sweet, got something to do. Yeah, sure, I'll go up there with you, just for something to do. Yeah, but that's what you're paid for. You're literally paid to keep yourself awake. Sometimes it'd be like that. It makes no sense. There used to be, back in the olden days of, which is not all that long ago, 10, 15 years ago, on TV and radio stations, they used to have someone there all the time to push buttons on the next thing. It's all automated now. But they used to have someone there, and they called him the playback. And he was the guy who made sure that the next show played. Your job was to press play once every 22 minutes. It was, that was your job. Yeah. Didn't pay very well, but it's not very hard. So.
Good for a college student.
Yeah, good for a college student or a second job or someone who, has energy issues or whatever. There's 100 reasons why. I don't know. Books on tape, one earplug so you can listen to a podcast or something. I don't know, depending upon the job requirements. If you're a security guard, you probably shouldn't be listening to a podcast in your ear. You probably do want to hear what's going on around you. But become your own internal best friend. Contemplate the meaning. Contemplate what happens at the speed of light. There you go. That'll take about 2 years of your life. Okay, what's next?
Okay. I'm paranoid after being fired. He got fired, got a new job,
And now he's
and
paranoid.
now he's paranoid. He doesn't know what to do.
Well, why did he get fired? Would be my first question, right? Was he illegitimately fired or legitimately fired? If he was illegitimately fired, then okay, it's actually not an unreasonable thing.
But I told him, this isn't a good fit.
Oh, well,
You
that's,
know.
then you're just worried about not fitting in, which is something a lot of people can relate to. But the best way to fit in is just to be your best self on every given day. It never means you're not always going to be your best self. People get that. Everybody's not always the best self. Just try to be your best self. Try to put those parts of you that are less palatable. Do something about them. You know what those things are. You know the things about yourself, your habits, whatever they may or may not be. Yeah, you know which ones you need to work on. So work on it. Just work on yourself. But mainly, don't worry about it so much. Because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy type thing. Is you're going to try so hard to fit in that you're going to make people feel uncomfortable. It's the danger. And maybe it just didn't fit. You're not always, again, we talked about it. You don't always fit. Sometimes it is a culture thing. And sometimes that's a nice way of saying, hey, we kind of like you, but you're not doing the job well enough. And so, we're not going to say that because we want to, we don't want to, they want to be nice to you because they kind of like you. It's not that you're incompetent. It's that you're not suited for that particular role. And so they move on from you. It happens. It's not the end of the world. You've already got a new job. Just focus on the here and the now, being the best you can be on any given day, and let the chips fall where they may. And yeah, by the way, you're going to worry about it anyway. So regardless of what we tell you. So we just are. It's just, that's how these things work. No one can tell you, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. Yeah, that doesn't help. Even though it's the truth, it doesn't help someone going through that. All you could do is relate that, yes, it's a real emotion. We get it, right? It's kind of it's a minor form of PTSD if you want to go that far, right? You can think of it as that way, right? You're not exactly sure what happens, so now you're walking on eggshells until you get comfortable. Yeah, it's gonna happen. I wish you the best of luck. Okay, what's next?
Okay. If you would have a paid leave for 6 months, what would you do? Okay. He worked at this company for 10 years, and they're giving him a sabbatical for 6 months.
Okay.
And they want him back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go do the things you've always wanted to do. You got paid. You got a 6-month paid vacation. Go chase a dream. Go follow a hobby. Right? Go educate yourself on something you wanted to do. Learn whatever, the basket weaving. It doesn't matter. Something you wanted to do, something you wanted to learn, you now have the time to do it. Something you've had to put off because you've been too busy. Go spend a month with your wife. A couple weekends camping with your kids. I don't know what it is, right? I'm just spitballing all the various things here. But there's things, and if there isn't things that you can fill up that 6 months with, you damn need that 6 months. Because you haven't even contemplated that in so long that it's so foreign to you that you've got 6 months where you can do whatever you want that you have no clue how to fill it. They're doing you a huge favor. You have sacrificed part of yourself, part of your humanity for your job, and they're telling you to stop it. They're worried about you. They care about you. Clearly. So they're seeing something, right? They're saying he's burning out. We've got to do something. And they've done something. Now it's up to you to take advantage of it. And maybe the advantage is to spend a month quietly. No responsibilities. Just by yourself to figure out what do you want to do for the next 5 years, 3 years. 2 years. Spend some time with yourself. Reconnect with your own humanity would be my suggestion. And then fill the time with those hobbies and projects and whatnot. Read some of the books you've wanted to read. Just whatever it is. Because if you don't know how to do that, I'm worried about you as a human being. Because most people, if they could have 6 months paid, they would know exactly how to fill 4 of it. You might not know how to fill the last 2, but they would know how to fill that first 4. Oh, I'll figure the last 2 out, right? They don't know. But that's not a hard question for most people to start asking. So, yeah. Enjoy the time off is my suggestion. Reconnect with your humanity. Okay.
Is it normal for a manager to miss a one-on-one and say nothing?
Yes, because they may have forgot. You forget that they have lots of things on their calendars and what's important to you as a one-on-one thing, especially if there's no real issues to be dealt with. The one-on-one is, maybe it's a small project, so it's important to you, but for him, it's just a perfunctory thing. Or maybe it's your yearly review. You're perfectly fine. So it's not something that's on the top of his head. So all you have to do is, when he misses the meeting, is you say, hey, sorry you missed the meeting. Hey, I thought we had a meeting scheduled on blah, blah, blah. Can we reschedule? That's it. Don't make a big deal out of it.
Okay.
Just send an email asking to reschedule. Say, hey, I was looking forward to the meeting. Can we reschedule? And you'll probably send back, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I was caught up in another meeting or whatever. It didn't make my calendar. Something will have happened, right? I'm infamous for not making the calendar. Yeah, someone's saying something to me out the door, and then I'll forget. And then they show up next week at the proper time. Oh, hi, how you doing? I do it far more often than I would like to admit. But that's, I'm there off all the time, so it usually works out. But yeah, there's a lot of times I've had appointments that I completely bone out on. And the reason I bone out on them because I know I'll be there to take care of it. I'll likely be there to take care of it anyway. So, yeah, I am my own worst enemy.
Oh
I swear, the future me hates me. And apparently, I don't think very much of future me at all. Never contemplates that guy. Screw that guy. He don't exist. All right. So what's next?
I was told that I would be promoted, but messed up the rest of the day. How to overcome nerves?
Okay, that's just one of them days. Some days you're the bear, and other days you're the fish. And that day you were the fish. Okay? The only way to overcome the nerves is to overcome nerves. Right? Just kind of get through it. And so I suggested these were 2 different questions.
No.
No?
I counted them out.
Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, no, there's nothing to do. Bad days happen. Bad half days happen. Good Lord, if you should see some of mine. I'm willing to just push buttons and see what happens. So I wreak all kinds of havoc.
You just start stabbing buttons.
Yeah, it should do this. What happens what does it actually do? Press it and find out. It's the only way you're going to find out. Unless you get some expensive engineer come down here and chase wires, and I ain't got time for that. Press a button and see what happens. It's not like I'm launching nuclear missiles or anything. It's, run a radio station. The worst thing that can happen is the squirrely signal can go out or dead air. And most of the time I can fix it. Most of the time. All right, so we're on to relationships. That's enough of work questions. I'm on to relationships. Oh, by the way, but to actually answer the question, don't assume that those 2 things are related, would be my suggestion. That you're messing up is because of your nerves for being promoted. My suspicion is it's just one of them days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some days you have a Monday on a Tuesday. Okay, what's next?
Okay, relationships. My wife wanted to split with me, but now has just come back as if nothing has changed. I feel sick. I need advice. What do I do?
Well, but she left and then came back and just wants to pretend that she didn't. There was no explanation. I don't know. There's something missing, and it just could be the emotion of not writing complete thoughts. But it's hard to give advice without having more background. Why did she want to split up with you to begin with? Why did she? How long was she gone? And how long? And what was the? Just came back. What moved back in and said, "Hi, honey, I'm home." There's something missing in this explanation that makes it so we can't answer this question.
Okay.
There's not enough background. Why did she leave in the first place? What was her reasons for coming back? Maybe she was just having, it may very well be an emotional issue, right? She may have been having a nervous breakdown or something like that. She could have a mental health issue, which I think these things often happen, that someone has a nervous or emotional breakdown or heads down that path. And so they essentially, blow up their lives because they think that's the problem, rather than they're having a mental health issue. Stress can do disastrous things to the mind, to your perspective on life. And so maybe that is it. She was overly stressed, kind of reached kind of her snapping point. She kind of snapped. She was able to put her perspective back together. She realized, no, it wasn't what she thought it was. The world wasn't really what she was seeing. And so now she wants to come back. She doesn't want to deal with it because it's embarrassing. Yeah. You guys are going to need to sit down. I don't necessarily a counselor or something of that nature, so you can work past what actually happened, because that's what you're going to actually have to figure out, is what actually happened. Maybe she's, I hate saying things like bipolar. Maybe she's becoming bipolar, or schizophrenia. There's all kinds of potential bad things, but it could also be, illnesses. Some illnesses like COVID can have some weird effects on how your brain functions. So, figure it out. Get some therapy, get some kind of counseling, figure out what the heck happened, so you can actually make decisions based upon reality rather than on assumptions. There we go. That was a long time to get to that actual answer. That took a long time to meander my way to that. Good Lord. It's going to be a long night. Okay, what's next?
My girlfriend wants an open relationship and I want to break up. How do I even convince her to break up? And how do we split our belongings? She won't even consider it.
Well, it's breaking up is one of those things that you don't need a mutual agreement on. Right? That one person gets to make that decision. And if she wants an open relationship and that is not your version of relationships, then you have every right, and I would suspect moral authority to leave. Now, sometimes there are costs to that. And in order to bring like that, you may end up losing some of your belongings, simply because it's not worth the fight. Those belongings aren't worth the fight.
Yeah.
Aren't worth the battle. It's not worth the emotion. It's not worth the emotional turmoil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's reasons people leave and start completely over. It's because it's easier that way. Sometimes it's easier to put your life back together without anything from the past. Grab your clothes, grab your PlayStation, and move on, right? Just grab your laptop, your PlayStation, and your clothes. Okay? Leave. Don't worry about the furniture. You don't want it anyway. You want something different. And you're a man. What do you care about the decorations? You don't. That's just it's an emotional attachment to something you're no longer attached to.
Mm.
Take your basics, move on. My suggestion. All right, what's next?
Okay, my boyfriend wants me to stop having my period, quote unquote. Can I even recover from this? He had a girlfriend who took medication
Yeah.
and she didn't have her period anymore. And he said it made the relationship much more enjoyable.
Now, do those things soften the PMS thing?
I don't know.
That's an interesting question. But even though I doubt that's actually why the reason. See, for me, as an old man, I don't care about the physical part. It's hey, does it moderate the the emotions? That's all I care about. That's not a half bad idea. Moderates those emotions a little bit. I'll take it. I don't mean to be crass, but
No, it's because she rebuffed him once.
yes, because they're in their mid 20s, 23, 24. So yeah, and 23 and 24-year-old men are stupid, which is essentially all it is. And the way you generally deal with these kind of things is you just tell them to quit being an ass and you move on. Oh, I probably shouldn't have to. No, I have to edit that.
Quit being a jerk.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, sometimes you just have to tell them. And if he can't get over it, then he's going to have to get over it finding a new girlfriend. Right.
Which he's going to have the same problem, so.
Well, or apparently, that's not necessarily. He can find another one who prefers taking the medication, I suspect. If there's one out there, there's another one somewhere.
Because he doesn't want to be inconvenienced.
If there was one, there's another one. What did your mother say?
What?
What's one thing you always say? Well, my mother always said, there's someone out there for everybody.
No.
Yeah, you said that a lot of times.
Well, yeah. She used to say that sometimes.
Oh, my Lord, woman. That's what I just said.
Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot.
All right.
I had to think about it.
All right, what's next? Well, it is late for you.
Okay, my boyfriend is telling me what to wear. What should I do? Oh, no.
Okay, well, this is going to be one of these things. It kind of depends on how, and because women oftentimes tell men what to wear. You going to wear that? You sure about those?
Yeah, I did that once, and that turned into one of our worst fights we ever had.
Yeah, because I will wear something even worse.
You didn't need to. It was awful. It was paint spattered shirt, white on black, and you were wearing it to your mother's for dinner.
Yes, because my mother's isn't a formal dinner. It's just a house shirt. Next time I'm wearing the ripped one. All right. Yeah, don't tell other people what to wear. It is the suggestion. Right now, if you've got a formal dinner, you might want to let them know it's a formal affair, but that's often you actually go to formal dinners nowadays. It almost never happens. So, yeah, and it kind of depends. I'm just saying, is asking someone to not to wear something so revealing a huge ass red flag? Probably not. Is telling someone that they have to wear, a certain particular style of clothes or whatnot a red flag? Yes, it is.
I mean, who are you, Rod Stewart? Mini skirt and high heels were a uniform.
Well, yeah, again, it depends, right? If you got into a relationship and you always known that the relationship is fairly modest, right? Say go to an extreme example. You're an Amish person. You're dating an Amish person, and you're walking around in a bikini. She's probably going to ask you to put something else on, right? Just because that's the culture thing. I'm being extreme to sort of point. right? It's just going to happen. Now, it may mean that you guys aren't meant for each other. Very well be true, right? But it's one of those things. I wouldn't be overly offended by that. It's expected. Now, if your relationship was not based upon that, right? If you're not a conservative religious person, so to speak, and that wasn't part of the relationship agreement, and now all of a sudden, it's become a thing, yeah, it's a huge red flag. So it's, again, kind of depends on culture. If you're both Southern Baptists and all of a sudden you're starting to wear something more revealing, yeah, he's going to say something. Maybe it's, I don't want to be, maybe you're time for you to leave the Southern Baptist and you not find a new partner, but it's not unexpected. It's not a red flag, right? Now, if someone's just being controlling, then yes, it's a red flag. So again, it kind of depends, but I would be wary of anybody who tells you what to wear. Okay, what's next?
My coworker opened up about her feelings. I respectfully acknowledged it and wouldn't reciprocate. Both married with kids. What should I do?
Nothing.
You did the right thing and you're done.
Yeah, there's nothing to do. You are keeping your relationship professional and civil while still allowing for personal contact while respecting your own boundaries. Congratulations, you are an adult human being. Seriously, that is about the most adult human professional thing you could do. Right?
Yeah.
You literally walked the line perfectly. Congratulations. That's it. There is no other, I think, to answer that. There's no other answer to that question. God, this is going to be a weird show to edit. There's no other answer to that question other than congratulations. That's it. The only answer I've got. All right, what's next?
Okay. My husband says everything I do for him is voluntary. What would you do if your husband said this?
Well,
he's
technically correct.
She is looking for thank yous.
Yes.
She would like some acknowledgement, please.
Did you?
They both work,
Uh-huh.
and she takes care of the house on top of it.
Yes. And what does he do? Do you acknowledge the other things he does?
Apparently, yes.
Do you acknowledge that he, mows the lawn, cleans the roof, whatever it is, cleans the gutters?
Oh, yes, she does, of course.
You say that like it's a sure thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you say that.
Rock solid.
Rock solid, sure. Certainly. Here's one of these things. This is one of these things we had to learn, right? You have to listen to your other person's love language. His love language may not be thank you. His love language may be all those little things that you don't have to worry about. Just as your love language for him is all these little things that you do for him voluntarily. Because you do them voluntarily. You are a free human being. You pick and choose everything you do. Right? You don't have to do a dang thing. Right? Other than what you choose to do. So everything we do is voluntary. Everything I do for you is voluntary. Everything you do for me is voluntary. Right?
Yeah.
Now, sometimes we voluntarily choose to do things that we would otherwise not choose to do because it makes our partner happy or their life become more convenient or gets them through a difficult moment or whatever it is, right? It's still a voluntary choice. We sometimes will sacrifice a great deal, but it's only a sacrifice because it's voluntary. So it's one of those things where you're crossing language. He is speaking very specifically, very technically, like a man would. And you are speaking emotionally. You want an emotional response, and he's giving you a technical response. Y'all are talking past each other. So here's the thing. If you want thank yous, tell him you want thank yous. Don't demand thank yous. Ask him. Say, it would make me feel better if you would occasionally say thank you when you notice that I've done things for you. And to be very clear, because of your instinct will to sound like you're nagging, which is like an automatic thing. And man, it sends us in a weird direction when we feel like you're nagging. So give us a problem to solve, and the solution is for us to say thank you more often. We love solving problems for our person we love. We do. We're no happier than we are solving problems for the person we love. So present us a problem where the solution is to give us more thank yous, right? And do so without nagging, and you will have more than thank yous than now. Thank yous may not come as thank you. Remember, love language. You guys are speaking different languages. Learn his language. You'll get a little more thank yous, but what you'll end up getting is a lot more things that you want. Little things that you want done.
Like that letterbox being done or something.
Yeah, you'll all the little chores that he hasn't gotten to, he'll run through a bunch of them, right? It's just because he wants to make you happy. But it takes a long time to change. How old are they? 28.
He's 28.
Yeah, he's 28.
She's 25.
Yeah, so it's going to take him a little bit of time, but you've got him enough time where he can actually still change some of his habits. So you've actually got a chance to get some thank yous out of him. But you're never going to get as many as you want. And I'm not going to say it's because you're being unreasonable, but it's because you guys have different love languages, and you're going to have to learn each other's love language. Yeah, and learn to honor the other person's love language. And once you learn to honor the other person's love language, you realize how much they're saying thank you without actually saying thank you. So, all the times he wants to tell you, no, don't buy that thing, and he says, sure, go ahead anyway. Yeah, that's a thank you for all the things you do for him. Or he wants to bitch about it and chooses not to.
Yeah, thanks for the bread machine, by the way, babe.
I so wanted to tear that thing apart and see if I could fix it. I so did. Okay, what's next?
Okay, my girlfriend is hinting at trips after I won some money online. How do I handle this?
Well, do you want to take a trip with her, or do you want to save the money?
He wants to save the money.
Save the money.
I mean, he's willing to make a compromise and just do like a day trip, but he doesn't want to go for 2 weeks to Hawaii.
Yeah, then if she wants to take a trip to Hawaii, here's your actual compromise. Take some of that money online and put it to a savings fund for a Hawaii trip later. And see how much she actually wants a trip to Hawaii. She's willing to start dropping $5 here, $10 there, $20 there on a trip to Hawaii. And if you save the money after a year and she's done her part, you plump some more money in there and you go to a trip to Hawaii. Year and a half, 2 years, whatever it is. Because you might feel differently about a trip to Hawaii in a year or two. But this way you've funded you've seeded a trip fund. So you get to do both. You get to start on creating a dream trip to Hawaii while also saving your money. And take a weekend trip to someplace close. Doesn't have to be a nice, big, huge, fancy trip. You get an Airbnb down at the nearest lake, ocean, or hill. Go spend overnight and have a nice, quiet, romantic night, or quiet, romantic weekend. Spend $300-$400. You don't have to spend a lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be my suggestion, if for long-term happiness in a relationship. Okay, what's next?
Okay, parenting.
Parenting questions. Woohoo!
Parents expect me to wipe their kids as crazy, right?
Well,
Cousins' kids.
Well, it depends.
And they're coming over and spending the night.
Yeah.
And they don't wipe their butt.
How old are these children?
10.
Oh yeah, you don't send your if your children are 10 and they can't take care of themselves that way, you can't be sending them over to other people's houses. What's wrong with you? Oh, and so yes, you are correct. You are. Tell them no. Is the only answer to that question. You'd love to have them over, but you can't. It's not your place to do proper hygiene. Now, if you're the more adventurous type, what you could do is teach them. You could take this as an opportunity to teach your cousins how to properly care for themselves. Is it your job? No, but clearly somebody needs to. And trust me, at 10, once they figure out that they don't need their parents to do that, they're going to be happier. So now, am I going to suggest that's what you do? No, I'm telling you that's an option. I'd say no. I just tell them no, you can't come over. But if you're a better human being than me, there is another option. I'm not that good of a human being, but I'm also never claimed to be. Okay, what's next?
How is your car obsessed child doing now? The child is 3. He's a little boy. He's just totally into anything with wheels.
Yeah, welcome to little boys.
Yeah. Well, they're worried.
Worried about what? That he's going to be interested in cars? Oh, the horror! What? He's going to be a mechanic or or something? What are you worried about? Look, little boys play with things, right? Be it a stick, be it a car's a wheel. You can push it. It moves. It crashes into other things. And yeah, it's fine. It means nothing. A little boy playing with cars at 3 years old has no relation to what's going to happen when he's 15, 20, 30, 40, 50. It means nothing. It just means he's a little boy. And that's it. He's a typical little boy. That you like him because you can push them around. They crash into each other. They make sounds. What is there not to like? Okay, what's next?
How do we survive as a species considering how difficult it is to raise a baby?
Because we're good at it. That's why. I mean, we have one of the human beings, the infant, the human infant is the most, what's the word I'm looking for?
Resilient?
No, the complete opposite of that is the most dependent child in the animal nature. Right? Birds, right after they're hatched, might run the close second. Most animals, like gazelles and whatnot, sitting there living out in the plains of the Serengeti, they stand up within minutes, up and moving within minutes. So the reality is we're good at it. We survive as a species because we are resilient and intelligent and resourceful. We can survive off of plants and animals. We know how to use tools. We know how to make tools. We are curious while at the same time fearful.
You forget the mastery of fire.
Yeah, but that mastery of fire
that's a tool.
That's a result of all these things. It's not it's a result of watching stuff burn and contemplating, hey, what could we do if we controlled that? And then trial and error. So many how much burnt skin we had before we just figured out how to, control fire. Even if the most basic, we still burn ourselves on fire. yeah, look at that. On our thumb, we still burn ourselves on fire, with fire. So, but yeah, it's the most useful tool we've ever come up with. We've ever controlled. So, anyway, because we're actually quite resourceful. That's why. I mean, I also have to remember that, infants used to die a lot. They're only the population explosion in the last 70 years is a result of infants not dying a lot. So our population was relatively low. We had lots of births, but few survivors. And now we have lots of births and lots of survivors. Yay! It's a good thing.
Yeah, you used to lose about half.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Half your children gone.
And that's just in recorded history. Think about before that. 10% survival rate. You're talking 1,000 years ago, 10% survival rate. Past, say, 2 years. And farther back, you're lucky at 10%. So anyway, how do we survive? Because we do. We're actually quite good at what we do. That's why. I know it doesn't always feel like that. We all feel incompetent, but the very fact that there's 7 billion of us tells us that we're actually quite good at it. Okay, what's next?
Okay, daughter wants to go home. She's 5, and she keeps telling Mom, I want to go home, and she is home.
Yeah.
And her dumb mom doesn't know what to do.
You do nothing. It's one of those things that you just kind of ignore and don't stop. Usually. Now, it's entirely possible that you're speaking of an early version of schizophrenia or something like that. I would kind of doubt it. There'd be other signs. My guess is it's just a 5-year-old who, for whatever reason, has convinced themselves of a story in their own head. I'm from Mars, and they told themselves this so much often that people believe they're from Mars. They'll outgrow it. You are home, honey. Go to bed. And that's all you do. You just don't make a big deal out of it, and then they'll stop making a big deal out of it. Unless it's a bigger deal. And then that's a long, difficult road that I hope you don't have to go down. Okay, so what do we have next, Bob?
Would you get a tracker for your elementary age children?
No.
No.
Because anything you can track, someone else can. In a very strange way, you are actually putting your child more at risk. Because now someone who actually wants them can find them. They can get a tracker, they can just get a tracker scanner. People forget that the criminals will use everything you create to their advantage. You are putting a signal on your child and sending them out in the world with a signal transmitting itself. And there are people out there with the tools to intercept those signals. So no, if you're that afraid of what your children are walking them to school yourself, drive them to school yourself. If you're that fearful. Because I don't know. It also, what are we teaching our children? We're teaching our children to be constantly afraid. To be afraid of everything that moves. That it's okay to be tracked because you're afraid. What's the long-term implications of that culturally? Yeah, I wouldn't blame any individual parent who chooses to do this, but I wouldn't. Right? I'm never going to judge somebody because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what trauma they've had to deal with in the past, etc. But for me, the societal implications are far bigger than I think we think of. And you as an individual you are not under any moral obligation to contemplate that. You're not. All you have to do is take care of yourself and your children. That's your moral obligation. The wider implications to society is not necessarily your responsibility. But at the same time, to be human is to think. Okay, what's next?
5-year-old daughter won't take responsibility for anything.
No. No way, man. A 5-year-old won't accept responsibility for stuff? No. How does this happen? 5-year-olds are so known worldwide throughout all of history of accepting responsibility and being uptight. What the heck are you talking about? They're terrorists at that age. Of course they're not going to take responsibility for anything. It's your job to force them to accept responsibility for the things they need to accept responsibility for. This is why these people are just gentle parenting and badness, which I get it, right? You don't want to yell and the thing with your children, but you are still have to enforce discipline on your child for their own mental health, right? They need to learn how to take responsibility, but they don't learn that through osmosis. You actually have to teach them, right? Those minutes or when I was a kid, hours of standing in the corner or whatever it is, or sitting on the countertop, or whatever punishments your children had, being stuck in your room with no entertainment, whatever your punishment as a child were, those were opportunities for education. And by removing those moments where your 5-year-old has to actually sit there and take responsibility for what they've done, regardless of whether they've acknowledged it or not. You know what they've done. You don't have them acknowledging it to you. They know. It's not like they don't know. So don't give them the opportunity to not accept responsibility. You forced it on them. Whatever form of punishment you choose, right? But it has to come. It has to come. Dads are much better at this. This is why how come, we had this question a couple weeks ago. How come the child always does what dad says? Because dad don't put up with nothing. That's why. Remember that one? Yeah. Yeah, because I can tell you exactly why. Because mom will sit there and argue and fuss, and the child will get away without having to accept any responsibility. That I don't care if you're even not. If you didn't do it, you're getting responsibility for it anyway. You ain't fooling nobody.
My sister, she'll tell her son, I will burn this house down before I give in to you.
Yeah, it's just no. And you want to do it now because you do not want a teenager that has not learned to accept responsibility.
Yeah, but oh man.
So teach that stuff now. Okay, what's next?
Should I swap to a cheaper daycare if I can afford a nicer one? Yes.
Well, you put the child in the daycare the best daycare that you can afford that fits that child. Sometimes it might be the cheaper one. It might be the nicer one. Depends. The cheaper one may have a better staff. They may have a better environment, right? Mm-hmm. That fits for your child. It may be, maybe one is overly strict, or maybe one is overly permissive, and so you want to send them to the other one. Right? If price doesn't have to be a factor, don't make it be a factor. Use everything else as the factor. If all else being equal, you take the cheaper one, but actually make sure all else is equal. Mm-hmm. If the cost isn't the deciding factor, well, then everything else is. You're in a wonderful position to have everything else be the deciding factor. So make everything else the deciding factor. Cost isn't relevant to you. Congratulations. Put your child in the best one for you, for your child. Be it the cheaper one or the more expensive one. That's what I would do if I had the money. Then the cost isn't what's relevant. It's everything else that's relevant. Okay, so we are on to our intimacy questions.
Yes.
Okay, what's next?
Okay. Roommate's girlfriend screamed head off during sex when I was there, but quiet during sex when I was not. Why?
How do you know she was quiet when
the roommate said something?
Well, maybe you were better the other day. The roommate was better the other day.
Oh,
You know, mood has a lot to do with enthusiasm.
true.
You know, it may not be related. Sorry. Just because, correlation does not is not causation. Just because it happened that way doesn't mean that's as maybe they ate cheese for breakfast on one of those days. What does that mean? We had scrambled eggs for breakfast, and then that night we had really good intimacy. So should I have scrambled eggs for breakfast every day? Is that going to no relation, right? It's the likelihood there's no relation to the two events. Just, yeah. And even if there is, you don't want to think that there is. So
Let it go.
yeah, just let it go. It is what it is. Okay.
How to ask to give a blowjob?
Well, that's the easiest question on the planet. A little awkward, but easy. You just ask.
Do you like oral sex?
Yeah. Hey, you in the mood for a? You could get a little funny with it, and there's all kinds of euphemisms or playful ways. Just hey, I'm in the mood for. Oh God, I try to be so family friendly. I can't get it out on things, but use your imaginations of ways you could ask to put your mouth on somebody else's member. There's lots of ways.
Would you like tulips on your organ?
Yeah. Can I play your flute?
What do you think he'll say?
Well, first, remember, men are stupid. We'll miss the first hint. Huh? We'll miss it. Right? Or we'll be so shocked that we'll just your brain will stop working. It's like your computer got frozen. You'll walk up and you'll be really fresh for it. Hey, I'm in the mood to give you a thing. You up for it? Huh? And that's when we'll say the dumbest stuff. Like, I don't know. What are you thinking about? What are you talking about, you moron? I could do the shower. They're those stupid ass things we'll say. Because, we're stupid. We think practical, right? Rather than, at that moment, she doesn't care if you need a shower unless you really don't need a shower, right? Unless you really need a shower, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, just ask in the most fun and inventive way you can think of, just for his pure reaction would be my suggestion. See what kind of goofy reaction you can get out of his face. Yeah, it's the easiest question in the world. They'll grant you it is a little awkward. I get why it feels awkward. Or if it's someone you are already intimate with, you can really just, start to unbutton, and you don't really have to say much.
Go for it.
Yeah. Now, you have to actually already have an intimate relationship with that person to do that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Because, consent is important regardless of the gender. But generally, if you already have an intimate relationship, you have a little bit of freedom to at least initiate that kind of contact.
Yeah.
Now if they say no, then you. All right. Okay. What's next?
Okay. How can I orgasm during intercourse with my boyfriend? Well, a lot of women have issues with that.
Well, yeah, some issues you can't. Sometimes you. Because having an orgasm during intercourse is actually quite complicated, which is why a lot of people get into taking turns. You take care of one person and the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the during thing is quite complicated and doesn't. And while it does happen, you can't really try for it to happen. It's one of those things that just kind of happens. Now, there are once you know yourself as a human being, there are, shall we say, positions or circumstances that can increase the opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, if you know your position, you know a position that happens to strike your fancy more than others, you can meander into that position around the appropriate time to increase your likelihoods. But that's what you're talking about here. You're talking about increasing likelihoods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is what you're doing.
Unlike a man who has a pretty much 99.9%, unless there's something actual wrong, severe stress or something physical, our success rate is pretty good. Unfortunately, women don't have that same, but you guys do get multiples. You guys can have yours in waves. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I know.
take something, it is what it is.
Men can too.
No, it doesn't happen like that.
It doesn't?
No.
I've heard it that can.
No.
Mm.
Yeah. We peak and drop. That's it. There's anything after that is way too much stimulation. Thank you. It doesn't feel good. Now, maybe in the whole realm of male humanity, there are people who enjoy that overstimulation. It wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
All things considered. But it's not a regular thing.
Okay.
Just as, getting your junk stomped on isn't a regular thing either. But there are people out there who like that. So. Okay, what's next?
Can a man not be into it?
Sure, for lots of reasons. Stress is the usual biggest cause of that. You just can't unstress.
Mm-hmm.
You can't de-stress for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And but there's all kinds of reasons. Same as women. You may not be able to get into it that particularly. Maybe you're mad at your partner. You have emotions just like everybody else. Who knows?
Okay.
We're no different. It's just percentages are not as high, right? It's percentages. It's not as a women. Right? The differences are still relatively similar as percentages. It's just not going to happen. Men are more likely to be into it than women are, right? Type of thing. Okay.
How or where does a virgin learn about sex so it's not awkward the first time? Well, it is going to be awkward the first time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's no way for it not to be awkward the first time. Well, that's not technically true, but I'm not going to tell you the solution for it not to be awkward the first time. Because I wouldn't recommend it at all in any shape, manner, or form.
Okay.
So use your imaginations. But there are ways for it not to be awkward the first time. But, just one of the things we'll have to go through. You'll be all right. The awkwardness is part of its beauty. It just is. Now, not at the time. It's beautiful. The awkwardness is beautiful 20 years later, not 20 minutes later. Just saying. Just want to be clear about that. And then
it's part of innocence.
Yeah, it's just part of the thing. It's part of your humanity.
Yeah.
It's that awkwardness is actually what keeps you. Here, you want to know what my perspective on that awkwardness is for, biologically speaking. It's from a evolutionary perspective. The awkwardness keeps you from becoming sexually active before you're generally ready. Because you're only going to break that awkwardness with somebody who you really want. Right? And so it keeps you from entering the gene pool before you're prepared. Is my theory. Hey, Mother Nature's a mean old mistress, man. The mean old mistress. She's cruel. Cruel. Saying. All right, one question left.
Okay. How to tell my boyfriend that I'm not in pain? They were virgins. Now they were together, and he's just very concerned about hurting her, and she wants him to kind of maybe rough it up a little bit. you know.
Okay, now here's the thing. You're gonna have to. Here's my suggestion. Okay, first is to make sure that you are not sending mixed signals. Because sometimes what pleasure can look like pain from an outside,
Oh, wow, yeah.
right? The sounds you're making, the facial expressions you have, or whatever, they may be sending this.
You guys look like you're having your something amputated, or is what
Well,
happened.
there are times where it kind of feels like that, but we just don't care. Yeah, the back is hurting or whatever. We're getting through it, especially as we get older. But yeah, no, because that's what I mean. You could be misinterpreting, especially since you're inexperienced, and so all you have is, that little experience you have with each other. And so if he's misinterpreting your sounds and expressions as pain instead of pleasure,
Ah,
then his instinct is going to be, I can't, I don't, he likes you, he doesn't want to hurt you. And so his signals are being received as, not necessarily you're sending them, they're being received by him as pain, that you're in pain or close to pain. So those hard discussions, it's just a difficult discussion that, just have the conversation. Because you're not hurting me. By the way, maybe one of those things is just kind of have a random discussion over breakfast. You're not hurting me. What? Yeah, we're intimate at night. It's not painful. It's okay. And he'll probably explain to you why he thinks he's hurting you. And over time, you guys will. You've got a long time to explore your sexuality together. So start it healthily now.
yes.
So just have the uncomfortable conversation. And as the more times you have these conversations, you become less and less uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's very true.
So, yeah. So at some point when intimate relations are not in the picture, because it's over breakfast or something, some nice light thing, just gently inform him that you're not in pain. That's all. That's it. Just you don't have to hold back. I'm not in pain. Why is you just eating the Pop-Tart? It'll be fine. All right, we want to thank you for being with us tonight. We forgot to do all of our things tonight, so it's a good thing because we didn't have sound on anyway. All right, so you can send your love letters to us at love@latenightLove.us. You can find us at latenightLove.us, and you can also find us on, Tuesday mornings, Monday nights, midnight, whatever the heck you guys, depending upon your view of what those are. Tuesday mornings, midnight Tuesday morning. You can find us on KUU 96.5 FM, the voice of Sacramento. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We will see you next week. Another late night love next week as well. So we'll see you next week. Good night and have a good week.
Bye.
Love everybody. Oh, wait. I didn't do my thing. All right. See you next week. And please remember to love everybody.